Good evening. It's Chayahshalom. I just got back from the high desert where my mom lives. And her name is Mary Lupe. And I was looking up the Guadalupe Hidalgo Treaty. And I wanted to read it. So I'm going to look for it. Let me see if I can share my screen. Okay. Let me open this up. Have you guys ever heard about this? Guadalupe, Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Now, this is Wikipedia, and of course, in what they call it, academia, they say, don't be using Wikipedia. That's a bunch of people that put stuff up there. Okay, well, let's look at it. This treaty signed on February 2nd, 1848, ended the war between the United States and Mexico. By its terms, Mexico ceded 55%. Oh, that's over half of its territory, including the present-day states, California, where I'm at, and my mom, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, most of Arizona and Colorado, and parts of Oklahoma and Kansas and Wyoming. Let's look at this nationalarchives.gov, Treaty of Guadalupe. Guadalupe. I have a feeling that's like the Virgin Mary. My mom's name is Mary. So Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, 1848. This treaty signed on February 2nd, 1848, ended the war between the United States and Mexico. By its terms, Mexico... This says the exact same thing as the Wikipedia, so get real, people. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which brought an official end to the Mexican-American War. Same thing, it's saying the same thing. To which Mexican government had fled with the advance of U.S. forces. With the defeat of its army and the fall... What's going on here? Sorry, I'm on a generator here. I don't have electricity anymore. And that's probably a good thing. Okay, so let me see. With the defeat of his army, Mexico's... Oh, and the fall of the capital, Mexico City. Hey, I think my grandparents have some ancestors over there in Mexico City. So that means we got that in the blood, and that means we have some rights here. Just saying. Okay, in September 1847, the Mexican government surrendered to the United States and entered into negotiations to end the war. The peace talks were negotiated by Nicholas Trist, chief clerk of the State Department, who had accompanied General Winfield Scott as a diplomat, and President Polk's representative, who's on my doorstep. Is that you, doggy? Cora, you need to go home. I know it smells good in here because I made some beef taquitos, but the next door neighbor's dog is bothering me. She won't leave. She keeps coming back. Trist and General Scott, after two previous unsuccessful attempts to negotiate a treaty with President Santa Anna, wow, determined that the only way to deal with Mexico was as a conquered enemy. Yikes. Nicholas Trist negotiated with a special commission representing the collapsed government led by Don Bernardo Couto, Don Miguel Atristain, and Don Luis Gonzaga Cuevas. President Polk had recalled Trist in October 1847 under the belief that negotiations would be carried out with a Mexican delegation in Washington. In the 6 weeks it took to deliver Polk's message, Trist received word that the Mexican government had named its special commission to negotiate. Trist determined that Washington did not understand the situation in Mexico and negotiated the peace treaty in defiance of the president. Wow. In a December 4th, 1847 letter to his wife, Trist wrote, knowing it to be the very last chance and impressed with the dreadful consequences to our country which cannot fail to attend the loss of that chance, I decided today at noon to attempt to make a treaty. The decision is altogether my own. Trist sent a copy to Washington, and President Polk forwarded the treaty to the Senate for their advice and consent. When the Senate reluctantly ratified the treaty by a vote of 34 to 14 on March 10th, 1848, it removed Article 10, guaranteeing the protection of Mexican land grants. What does that mean? It removed Article 10, guaranteeing the protection of Mexican land grants. Ooh, doesn't sound good. Following the ratification, the United States withdrew its troops from the Mexican capital, which probably was Mexico City up here. Yeah, the fall of the capital, Mexico City. That's where the peoples are from. Guadalupe. With the, annexation of more than 525,000 square miles of land, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo extended the boundaries of the United States west to the Pacific Ocean. Hey, that's by where I live. Excuse me. This agreement, along with the 1853 Gadsden Purchase, created the southern border of the present-day United States. The U.S. government paid Mexico $15 million in consideration. That's it. Of the extension. I mean, maybe it was a lot back then, but it's a lot now. But I'm just saying it's not that much now for all 55, more than half of their nation, in consideration of the extension acquired by the boundaries of the United States, and agreed to pay American citizens debts. What? Wait a minute. The U.S. government paid Mexico $15 million in consideration of the extension acquired by the boundaries, of the United States, and agreed to pay American citizens debts owed to them by the Mexican government. Oh, didn't know that. Other provisions included the protection of property and civil rights of Mexican nationals living within the new boundaries of the United States, the promise of the United States to police its boundaries, and compulsory arbitration of future disputes between the two countries. Wow, that should have taken care of that wall thing right there. Look at other provisions, including the protection of property and civil rights of Mexican nationals living within the new boundaries of the United States, the promise of the United States to police its boundaries. That's the United States to police its boundaries, and compulsory arbitration of future disputes between the two countries. Right there, the United States is supposed to be taking care of that kind of stuff right there. I'm just saying. So, this is the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. So you're going to have to mention this one to anybody who's wanting, the Mexican people over there to pay for something to do with the United States boundaries and policing and all that, because hello, right here, this is the thing. Okay? So what do we got over here? Transcript. Treaty of Peace, Friendship. Hey, limits and settlement between the United States of America and the United Mexican States. concluded at Guadalupe Hidalgo, February 2nd, 1848. Ratification advised by Senate with amendments, March 10th, 1848. Ratified by President, March 16th, 1848. Ratifications exchanged at Querétaro, May 30th, 1848. Proclaimed July 4th. Hey, 1848. Here we go. In the name of Yahuah, Almighty God, the United States of America and the United Mexican States animated like cartoons, by a sincere desire to put an end to the calamities of the war, which unhappily exists between the two republics. Did you say two republics? I think it says republics. Doesn't look like it says democracies. It says two republics. And to establish upon a solid basis relations of peace and friendship, which shall confer reciprocal benefits upon the citizens of both. You know, reciprocal, you know what that means? Like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You know, you're going to give back. I'm going to converse with you and you're going to converse with me. Reciprocal, okay? Not one way, both ways. Benefits upon the citizens of both, and assure the concord, harmony, and mutual confidence wherein the two people should live as good neighbors, have for that purpose appointed their respective plenipotentiaries. I've heard that word before, Mark Christopher, plenipotentiary. That is to say, the President of the United States has appointed Nicholas P. Trist, a citizen of the United States, and the President of the Mexican Republic has appointed Don Luis Gonzaga Cuevas, Don Bernardo Couto, and Don Miguel Atristain, citizens of the said republic, who, after a reciprocal communication of their respective powers, full powers, have under the protection of Almighty God, Yahuah, the author of peace, arranged, agreed upon, and signed the following treaty of peace, friendship, limits, and settlement between the United States of America and the Mexican Republic. So here's Article 1. There shall be firm and universal peace between the United States of America and the Mexican Republic. So you customers of mine who have some issues with this border wall thing, let me kick you in the butt right here, because right here, this is a covenant. Right here, this is a treaty. And you better like stop it with your ridiculous stuff, okay? Because this right here, you gotta read what it says. Between the United States of America and the Mexican Republic, and between their respective countries, territories, cities, towns, and people, without exception of places or persons, okay? And Article 2, immediately upon the signature of this treaty, a convention shall be entered into between a commissioner or commissioners appointed by the General-in-Chief of the Forces of the United States, and such as may be appointed by the Mexican government, to end that a provisional suspension of hostilities shall take place. End that stuff. And that in the places occupied by the said forces, constitutional order may be reestablished as regards the political, administrative, and judicial branches. So far as this shall be permitted by the circumstances of military occupation. Article 3, immediately upon the ratification of the present treaty by the government of the United States, orders shall be transmitted to the commanders of their land and naval forces requiring the latter, provided this treaty shall then have been ratified by the government of the Mexican Republic. and the ratifications exchanged immediately to desist from blockading any Mexican ports and requiring the former, under the same condition, to commence at the earliest moment practicable, withdrawing all troops of the United States then in the interior of the Mexican Republic to points that shall be selected by common agreement at a distance from the seaports not exceeding 30 leagues, and such evacuation of the interior of the Republic shall be completed with the least possible delay. The Mexican government hereby binding itself to afford every facility in its power for rendering the same convenient to the troops on their march and in their new positions, and for promoting a good understanding between them and the inhabitants. In like manner, orders shall be dispatched to the persons in charge of the custom houses at all ports occupied by the forces of the United States, requiring them, under the same condition, immediately to deliver possession of the same to the persons authorized by the Mexican government to receive it, together with all bonds and evidence of debt for duties on importations and on exportations not yet fallen due. Moreover, a faithful and exact account shall be made out showing the entire amount of all duties on imports and on exports collected at such custom houses or elsewhere in Mexico or Mexico by authority of the United States from and after the day of the ratification of this treaty by the government of the Mexican Republic, and also an account of the cost of collection, and such entire amount, deducting only the cost of collection, shall be delivered to the Mexican government at the city of Mexico within 3 months after the exchange of ratifications. The evacuation of the capital of the Mexican Republic by the troops of the United States, in virtue of the above stipulation, shall be completed in 1 month after the orders there stipulated for shall have been received by the commander of said troops, or sooner if possible. Article 4. Immediately after the exchange of ratifications of the present treaty, all castles, forts, territories, places, and possessions which have been taken or occupied by the forces of the United States during the present war within the limits of the Mexican Republic, as about to be established by the following article, shall be definitely restored to the said republic, together with all the artillery, arms, apparatus of war, munitions, and other public property, which were in the said castles and forts when captured, and which shall remain there at the time when this treaty shall be duly ratified by the government of the Mexican Republic. To this end, immediately upon the signature of this treaty, orders shall be dispatched to the American officers commanding such castles and forts, securing against the removal or destruction of any such artillery, arms, apparatus of war, munitions, or other public property. The city of Mexico, within the inner line of entrenchments surrounding the said city, is comprehended in the above stipulation as regards to the restoration of artillery, apparatus, war, and C. I don't know what C is. The letter C. The final evacuation of the territory of the Mexican Republic by the forces of the United States, meaning get out of here, United States, shall be completed in 3 months from the said exchange of ratifications, or sooner if possible. The Mexican government hereby engaging, as in the foregoing article, to use all means in its power for facilitating such evacuation and rendering it convenient to the troops, and for promoting a good understanding between them and the inhabitants. If, however, the ratification of this treaty by both parties should not take place in time to allow the embarkation of the troops of the United States to be completed before the commencement of the sickly season at the Mexican ports on the Gulf of Mexico. In such case, a friendly arrangement shall be entered into between the General-in-Chief of the said troops and the Mexican government, whereby healthy and otherwise suitable places at a distance from the ports not exceeding 30 leagues shall be designated for the residence of such troops as may not yet have been embarked, until the return of the healthy season. What are they talking about, like the flu season? And the space of time here referred to as comprehending the sickly season shall be understood to extend from the first day of May to the first day of November. All prisoners of war taken on either side, on land or sea, shall be restored as soon as practicable after the exchange of the ratifications of this treaty. It's also agreed that if any Mexicans should now be held as captives by any savage tribe within the limits of the United States, as about to be established by the following article, the government of said United States will exact the release of such captives and cause them to be restored to their country. And here's Article 5. The boundary line between the two republics shall commence in the Gulf of Mexico, 3 leagues from land, opposite the mouth of the Rio Grande, otherwise called Rio Bravo del Norte, or opposite the mouth of its deepest branch. If it should have more than one branch emptying directly into the sea, from thence upon the middle of that river, following the deepest channel where it has more than one, to the point where it strikes the southern boundary of New Mexico, thence westerly along the whole southern boundary of New Mexico, which runs north of the town called Paso, to its western termination, thence northward along the western line of New Mexico. This is the metes and bounds, folks. Until it intersects the first branch of the river Gila, or if it should not intersect any branch of that river, then to the point on the said line nearest to such branch, and thence in a direct line to the same, thence down the middle of said branch and the said river until it empties into the Rio Colorado, thence across the Rio Colorado, following the division line between Upper and Lower California to the Pacific Ocean. The southern and western limits of New Mexico, mentioned in the article, of those laid down in the map, entitled Map of the United Mexican States, as organized and defined by various acts of the Congress of said republic, and constructed according to the best authorities, revised edition, published in New York in 1847 by J. Disterno, of which map a copy is added to this treaty, bearing the signatures and seals of the undersigned plenipotentiaries. And in order to preclude all difficulty in tracing upon the ground the limit separating Upper from Lower California, it is agreed that the said limit shall consist of a straight line drawn from the middle of the Rio Gila, where it unites with the Colorado, to a point on the coast of the Pacific Ocean, distant 1 marine league due south of the southernmost point of the port of San Diego, according to the plan of said port made in the year 1782 by Don Juan Pantoja, second sailing master of the Spanish fleet, and published at Madrid in the year 1802 in the atlas to the voyage of the schooners Sutul and Mexicana, of which plan a copy is hereunto added, signed and sealed by the respective plenipotentiaries. This is very interesting, isn't it? Wow. So it's giving like the total metes and bounds of the borders and everything. So in order to designate the boundary line with due precision upon authoritative maps and to establish upon the ground landmarks which shall show the limits of both republics, as described in the present article, the two governments shall each appoint a commissioner and a surveyor who, before the expiration of 1 year from the date of the exchange of the ratifications of this treaty, shall meet at the port of San Diego and proceed to run and mark the said boundary in its whole course to the mouth of the Rio Bravo del Norte. They shall keep journals and make out plans of their operations. Hey, we should do that too, you know, write down the vision, put it in a book, and then run with it. And the result agreed upon by them shall be deemed a part of this treaty, and shall have the same force as if it were inserted therein. The two governments will amicably agree regarding what may be necessary to these persons, and also to their respective escorts, should such be necessary. The boundary line established by this article shall be religiously respected. Did you hear that? Religiously respected, the boundary line, by each of the two republics, and no change shall ever be made therein, except by the express and free consent of both nations, lawfully given by the general government of each, in conformity with its own constitution. Article 6. The vessels and citizens, of the United States shall in all times have a free and uninterrupted passage by the Gulf of California and by the river Colorado below its confluence with the Gila to and from their possessions situated north of the boundary line defined in the preceding article, it being understood that this passage is to be navigating the Gulf of California and the river Colorado and not by land, without the express consent of the Mexican government. If by the examinations which may be made, it should be ascertained to be practicable and advantageous to construct a road, canal, or railway, which should in whole or in part run upon the river Gila, or upon its right or its left bank, within the space of 1 marine league from either margin of the river, the governments of both republics will form an agreement regarding its construction in order that it may serve equally for the use and advantage of both countries. Article 7, the river Gila and the part of the Rio Bravo del Norte lying below the southern boundary of New Mexico, being agreeably to the 5th article, divided in the middle between the two republics, the navigation of the Gila and the Bravo below said boundary shall be free and common to the vessels and citizens of both countries, and neither shall, without the consent of the other, construct any work that may impede, or interrupt, in whole or in part, the exercise of this right, not even for the purpose of favoring new methods of navigation. Nor shall any tax or contribution under any denomination or title be levied upon vessels or persons navigating the same, or upon merchandise or effects transported thereon, except in the case of landing upon one of their shores, if for the purpose of making the said rivers navigable, to be able to be navigated, or for maintaining them in such state, it shall be necessary or advantageous to establish any tax or contribution. This shall not be done without the consent of both governments. The stipulations contained in the present article shall not impair the territorial rights of either republic within its established limits. Here's Article 8. Mexicans now established in territories previously belonging to Mexico, and which remain for the future within the limits of the United States, as defined by the present treaty, shall be free to continue where they now reside, or to remove at any time to the Mexican Republic, retaining the property which they possess in the said territories, or disposing thereof, and removing the proceeds wherever they please, without their being subjected on this account to any contribution, tax, or charge whatever. That's a good one. Article 8. Gotta remember that one. I like that word. Without their being subjected to tax or charge. I like that. Those who prefer to remain in the said territories may either retain the title and rights of Mexican citizens or acquire those citizens of the United States. But they shall be under the obligation to make their election within 1 year from the date of the exchange of ratifications of this treaty. And those who shall remain in the said territories after the expiration of that year, without having declared their intention to retain the character of Mexicans, shall be considered to have elected to become citizens of the United States. Wait, what'd that say? So those who remain in the territories after the expiration, without having declared their intention to retain the character of Mexicans, shall be considered to have elected to become citizens of the United States. In the said territories, property of every kind, now belonging to Mexicans not established there, shall be inviolably respected. The present owners, the heirs of all these, and all Mexicans who may hereafter acquire said property by contract, shall enjoy with respect to it guarantees equally ample as if the same belonged to the citizens of the United States. Article 9. The Mexicans who in the territories aforesaid shall not preserve the character of citizens of the Mexican Republic conformably with what is stipulated in the preceding article shall be incorporated into the Union of the United States and be admitted at the proper time to be judged of by the Congress of the United States to the enjoyment of all the rights of the citizens of the United States, according to the principles of the Constitution, and in the meantime shall be maintained and protected, protected in the free enjoyment of their liberty and property, and secured in the free exercise of their religion without restriction. Article 10. Stricken out. What? I thought we saw something about Article 10. I thought I read something about Article 10. Oh, I'll have to look at that. What's... Oh. What? How come? Article 11, considering that a great part of the territories, which by the present treaty are to be comprehended for the future, that's right around now, within the limits of the United States, is now occupied by savage tribes. Who would those be? Who will hereafter be under the exclusive control of the government of the United States, and whose incursions within the territory of Mexico would be prejudicial. In the extreme, it is solemnly agreed that all such incursions shall be forcibly restrained by the government of the United States, whensoever this may be necessary, and that when they cannot be prevented, they shall be punished by the said government, and satisfaction for the same shall be exacted in all the same way and with equal diligence and energy, as if the same incursions were meditated or committed within its own territory against its own citizens. It shall not be lawful, under any pretext whatever, for any inhabitant of the United States to purchase or acquire any Mexican or any foreigner residing in Mexico. Excuse me. Excuse me. Who may have been captured by Indians inhabiting the territory of either of the two republics, nor to purchase or acquire horses, mules, cattle, or property of any kind stolen within Mexican territory by such Indians. Oh, okay. And in the event of any person or persons captured within Mexican territory by Indians being carried into the territory of the United States, the government of the latter, United States, engages and binds itself in the most solemn manner so soon as it shall know of such captives being within its territory, and shall be able to do so, or shall be able to so to do, through the faithful exercise of its influence and power to rescue them and return them to their country, or deliver them to the agent or representative of the Mexican government. The Mexican authorities will, as far as practicable, give to the government of the United States notice of such captures, and its agents shall pay the expenses incurred in the maintenance and transmission of the rescued captives, who in the meantime shall be treated with the utmost hospitality by the American authorities at the place where they may be. But if the government of the United States, before receiving such notice from Mexico, should obtain intelligence through any other channel of the existence of Mexican captives within its territory, it will proceed forthwith to effect their release and delivery to the Mexican agent as above stipulated. For the purpose of giving to these stipulations the fullest possible efficacy, thereby affording the security and redress demanded by their true spirit and intent, the government of the United States will now and hereafter pass without unnecessary delay and always vigilantly enforce such laws as the nature of the subject may require. And finally, the sacredness of this obligation. Did you hear that? Sacredness of this obligation to Yahuah, our Creator, the Most High God, they said, from any portion of the said territories, or for its being settled by citizens of the United States, but on the contrary, special care shall then be taken not to place its Indian occupants under the necessity of seeking new homes by committing those invasions which the United States have solemnly obliged themselves to restrain. All right, cool. That's got to do with the Indians, or should we say American natives? Would that be American? I guess that would be Mexican. The Mexican natives. Article 12. In consideration of the extension acquired by the boundaries of the United States as defined in the 5th article of the present treaty, hey, sounds like money coming up. The government of the United States engages to pay to that of the Mexican Republic the sum of $15 million. Wow, that's not very much money, but I'm just saying. It is a lot of money, but it's not really for all that land and all that good stuff. Immediately after the treaty shall have been duly ratified by the government of the Mexican Republic, the sum of $3 million shall be paid to the said government by that of the United States at the city of Mexico, in the gold or silver coin of Mexico. Um, um, isn't that like cheaper? I'm just saying. Pesos? The remaining $12 million shall be paid at the same place and in the same coin in annual installments of $3 million each, together with interest on the same at the rate of 6 per centum per annum. This interest shall begin to run upon the whole sum of $12 million from the day of ratification to the present treaty by the Mexican government, and the first of the installments shall be paid at the expiration of 1 year from the same day, together with each annual installment. As it falls due, the whole interest accruing on such installment from the beginning shall also be paid. Excuse me. You need to go outside? Door open because you want to come back in. Huh. Oh, so I wonder if, American money had a higher rate than the Mexican money back then. I don't know. I wasn't born, so I didn't know. Article 13. The United States engage, moreover, to assume and pay to the claimants all the amounts now due them, and that hereafter to become due, by reason of the claims already liquidated and decided against the Mexican Republic, under the conventions between the two republics severally concluded on the 11th day of April. Ah, that's my brother's birthday. And mine's the next day. We're Irish twins. 1800. 1839, and on the 30th day of January, 1843. So that the Mexican Republic shall be absolutely exempt for the future. What? Exempt for the future? Like right now? From all expense whatever on account of the said claims. Well, I don't think that they don't have to pay for any wall if they are exempt for the future from all expense, whatever on account of the said claims, right? Just saying. Let's read, people. All right. What is this? 14. 10 is X is a 10, and then 1V is a 4, so that's 14. The United States does furthermore discharge the Mexican Republic from all claims of citizens of the United States. What does that mean? The United States does furthermore discharge the Mexican Republic from all claims of citizens of the United States not heretofore decided against the Mexican government, which may have arisen previously to the date of the signature of this treaty, which discharge shall be final and perpetual, whether the said claims be rejected or be allowed by the Board of Commissioners provided for in the following article down here, and whatever shall be the total amount of those allowed. So, this is Article 15. How many articles do they have? I'm on Article 15, but I just want to see. Whoa. This is a lot. But, okay. 23 articles. Whoa. I guess if you want to fall asleep while I'm reading, I'll try not to do an eon and scream really loud. Article 15. The United States exonerating Mexico from all demands on account of the claims of their citizens mentioned in the preceding article, and considering them entirely and forever canceled, whatever their amount may be, undertake to make satisfaction for the same, to an amount not exceeding $3.25 million, to ascertain the validity and the amount of those claims. A board of commissioners shall be established by the government of the United States, whose awards shall be final and conclusive, provided that in deciding upon the validity of each claim, the BOA, Board of, I don't know what BOA is, but a Board of somebody's, that starts with an A, administrators. The BOA shall be guided and governed by the principles and rules of decision prescribed by the 1st and 5th articles of the unratified convention, concluded at the city of Mexico on the 20th day of November. Wow. 1,843. So is that 1943? Or what? Is that money? I hate it when they do that. I'd rather see the number than spell it out. What does that mean? 1,843. Is that 1843? Why do they do that? Gosh, it's confusing. And in no case shall an award be made in favor of any claim not embraced by these principles and rules. Oh, maybe that's $1,843. Or is that pesos? What money are we talking about here? United States money or Mexico money? I'm just saying. If in the opinion of the said board of commissioners or of the claimants, any books, records, or documents in the possession or power of the government of the Mexican Republic shall be deemed necessary to the just decision of any claim, the commissioners or the claimants through them shall, within such period as Congress may designate, make an application in writing for the same, addressed to the Mexican Minister of Foreign Affairs, to be transmitted by the Secretary of State of the United States. And the Mexican government engages at the earliest possible moment after the receipt of such demand to cause any of the books, records, or documents so specified, which shall be in their possession or power, or authenticated copies or extracts of the same, to be transmitted to the said Secretary of State, who shall immediately deliver them over to the said Board of Commissioners. Provided that no such application shall be made by or at the instance of any claimant, and to the facts which it is expected to prove by such books, records, or documents shall have been stated under oath or affirmation. Ooh, I gotta be in a meeting right now. Yikes. I'm supposed to be in a meeting, so I'm gonna have to stop. But I got up to Article 16. Yeah. I guess I'll have to continue this later. But hey, this is kind of interesting. So Article 16 is where I need to read. But I'm supposed to be in a Zoom meeting right now, so I gotta get off. But this is very interesting. Did you hear some of the stuff? Right, we need to consider We need to consider this and read this Guadalupe Hidalgo treaty, okay? And there's some good stuff in there. All right, well, I gotta go. So, gotta go get my dog too. So, good night. Oh, please like and subscribe and share this so other people can fall asleep when I read. Please make a comment, a good one. And if you can help us out in the comment section down there, please. I appreciate it. Thank you.